Hello everyone, this is Meter and Nuts, and today we'll be continuing our beginner friendly Road to OSCP video series. Today we'll be looking at another HackTheBox machine, that is LaCasaDePapel. It is based on Linux and the difficulty is easy, so let's just get started. Actually, the box difficulty, I think it's a bit tricky. It's not very hard, but it's a bit tricky, and it comes in the more challenging than OSCP section. So let's just get started. So first thing what I always do is I run an auto recon scan. If you guys don't know what auto recon is, it's an enumeration tool. It's gonna do a few nmap scans at first, and based on the open ports it did fine, so it will do additional, so like additional scans on them. So I highly recommend it. 95% of the time works great, but sometimes you have to manually enumerate things further, and always remember to know your manual commands as well. It's like don't always rely on an automated tool. But yeah, so I'll be using this. It's available on GitHub. You guys can get it from there. I'll be using the autorecon.py file. I'll be running this autorecon.py as root. So that's why I'll be giving sudo over here because I'm running the box as Kali. I'll be giving Python 3 over here in order to successfully execute this autorecon.py file. I'll be giving the target IP address, that is 10.10.10.131 in the case of La Casa de Papel, and also I'll be giving the output directory for like O switch for output directory where I want to save the scan result as. So I did already execute the scan because it takes quite some time. So let's just look at into the scan results. The first thing what I do is I look at the full TCP and map scan. And if we see over here we have few ports open, that is 21 running FTP. The version over here is VSFTPD 234. Probably this is vulnerable to something, so let's just look into it in some time. We have port 20 running 22 running SSH and OpenSSH version this. I don't think there are any known exploits for that, but you can check it always. Good habit. You see the version, take a search exploit and check. Go on Google and check for it. So we have port 80 over here running HTTP. We have Node.js. Obviously, you can search exploit or go on Google, check exploit DB or something. We have this 443 over here running SSL HTTP. That is your HTTPS with HTTP with SSL. So we have the same web server over here, Node.js Express framework. Okay, so we have these two things present over here. We have a domain name as well, LaCasaDePapel, HackTheBox, so HTTP. So the domain name, you can add this thing. It's very important to note, you add this thing into your cherry tree or something, and later on, you can add it to your etc host file and try to load this page using this name. You may probably get a different web page. So in this case, we do not find anything useful, so let's just leave it as it is. We have over here 6200 TCP open something. So I'm not sure what this is, but it says some size shell and some version number, Justin Heilman, probably some username. I guess if you do the box for the first time, you would think like, hey, it's a username. It's always a good thing to take this, copy it, and paste it to your cherry tree, like potential usernames. So we have few things over here, and I don't think I find anything interesting. We obviously know the box is Linux because it's like the nmap scan says so, as well as from HackTheBox it's Linux. But I don't think in an exam you're gonna get that this box is Linux or Windows. But I think nmap will do the job for you. So this is what it is, and I don't think there's anything useful over. We have the version, so let's just quickly try and add the ports which we need to look into. So port 21, port 80. Why I'm skipping port 22 is because probably there'll be only brute force over there. So we have port 443 and port 6200. So first thing what I can do is I can take port 21 and look at the nmap scan as well over here, but we do not find anything. We just find the version number, that's it. So we can just try and do FTP 10.10.10.131, and for some reason it just stuck. I'm not sure why, but let's just try it again. Okay, we get anonymous. Just enter anonymous for anonymous access. Don't think we have that. Hit enter. It says login incorrect. So let's just exit. Do not find anything over here. Obviously, next thing is you can check for source exploit over here in this particular thing. Before that, will just quickly check for 6200. Okay, so 6200 is present over here. Obviously, first, if I saw this thing, I would check for an exploit over here and then go for other things. But let's just check 6200 now. And if we quickly just do NC 10.10.131. Why am I checking in NC? Is because whenever there's an unknown service, you do not have any idea of it. Okay, there's some LMX something. It's having a question mark. So that means Nmap also is not sure about it. You can check on Google for this, or you can just try and check with NC and Telnet on port 620. My bad. 6200, it says connection refused. So if you do telnet as well, it's gonna actually say the same thing. But then what you can do is you can just go over here and check for 131.62.6200 and see if you get something that says cannot connect. So in short, we cannot connect for some reason. We cannot connect over here, cannot connect. But don't leave this option. You can probably use some other service or something and try to check it with that probably. So in this case, it does not work. So next thing what we can do is we can just check for search exploit against VSFTPD. And if we see, we get multiple VSFTPD and we get this version number which we are currently running, that is 234. So this says you have backdoor command execution with Metasploit. So obviously we will not be using Metasploit over here. So what we'll try to do is let's just copy this thing and you can just paste this and check for exploit on Google. So most of the times you'll be having some Metasploit module exploit present on GitHub or something like that. So we come across this Python script over here, which is like going to give us remote command execution. So if you just look into it, obviously don't blindly copy any script, just read and see. It's trying to have some socket connection done over here on FTP and it's gonna do let me in. So all this backdoor thing, right, for 234, so it had this smiley face. So if you enter the smiley face in the username, it's gonna trigger that backdoor for you. And if you see, the usage is quite simple. Just run the file, give the target IP address, give the port number and give the command what you want to run. So let's just do raw. Copy this entire thing over here and you can do a git clone as well, but let's just try to do this. So we'll do ftp exploit.py, just open it, copy it, paste it. So in short, we do not have to manually edit anything over here. Let's just try to run it and I think we'll need to give chmod permissions. So let's just check the permissions now. So it is probably 6 over here, 4 over here and 4 over here itself. So we'll give 7 to get that execute. So let's just give chmod 7444 and we'll be giving the file name, that is ftp exploit. Okay, so if you see now, we'll get that execute as well because that actually is 1. Okay, so we did get this FTP exploit. Now what we can do is we'll just try quickly to go and run this FTP. For that, probably just enter Python 3 over here. And we have to give the target IP address, that is 10.10.10.131. Give the port, that is 22 because it's a FTP exploit. And also the command, so probably I'll just give who am I. So it says attempting to trigger backdoor, connect it, but for some reason it says response and this size shell thing. So this is something similar to what we did see in port 6200, the size shell PHP by Justin, something like that. So it looks like there is something which is not going to let us execute who am I. So let's just try it once more. It does the same thing and it says PHP warning, use of who am I, for some reason some error. Okay, so probably it looks like some PHP command line shell is present over here in 6200, which we were not able to access, right? So if we did see over here, we could not access it, but now if you do NC on this, we can actually access it. So in short, that backdoor opened the door for us and we are over here, we have this shell, but it's a limited shell and it's a PHP shell. So obviously it's PHP. First I thought, okay, we can probably execute PHP commands over here, like shell, your system commands over here, like system who am I or some file, but it does not work that way. So in short, we cannot execute those commands. You can quickly check system, we can do who am I and it's gonna give you an error. So it says cannot execute function. Okay, so we cannot execute system. So what we can do is we have this thing, always check for help. Many custom applications or CLI like that will have an help option. So let's just do HELP. And you can check about this on GitHub, Google as well. So there are like multiple commands which you can use over here. So we have help, we have ls over here, which is interesting. So what we'll do is we'll just keep this on hold for a while and we'll just quickly go and check our web pages, because obviously it's like first thing, obviously I will go and check for FTP. Then if I don't find anything, I'll check for 80.443 as well, but we jump to 6200, right, just to show you that we did get access. So let's just keep that on hold for a while, because generally I would go and check port 80 first and see what we get, if we get some interesting information or no. So let's just do that and just load this normal page over here. 10.10.10.131. It's taking some time to load. And we do get this Google Authenticator page. It says install Google Authenticator. If you see something below, it's like some other domain support Google. So we do not want to enter that. We have some email, so you can enter something. You do get free trial, and it says please enter an email address. So if you just click this, it's gonna reload this page, and don't think there's anything over here. So first thing, whenever you get a web application, there are two things you have to do. My bad. Why did it go over there? So two things. First, you have to check is if it is a vendor specific application or open source, or it is a custom made application. So if it is vendor and open source, probably there will be versioning of that, and there will be like some known exploits. There will be default credentials, default file system location, all these kind of things. Like file system has a default configuration files and all these things. But if it is a custom made application like this is a custom made application, you have to manually exploit things further. Okay. So this box is obviously based on money heist, and there are multiple. So we have this thing money. Yeah. So what we'll try to do is we'll just quickly go and see if we get something in view page source. So we do not get anything over here, and what we can do is we'll just try and move on and go to port 443. So we can enter 443 over here, I guess, or we could have entered HTTPS. Okay, I think we need to enter HTTPS itself. So HTTPS. Obviously, you can run GoBuster as well. So Recon did run GoBuster, but we could not find anything over there. We just did find this favicon thing, and as well as on port 443 we did not find anything over here. I did run a small txt on GoBuster on port 80, but could not find anything. I don't think there's anything available on the port 443 as well. And if you come to port 443, which is the SSL connection, it says certificate error, sorry, but you need to provide a client certificate to continue. So in short, we get some error. We can do view page source over here, and it's nothing. We do not have anything over here. So in short, we get this error. So this error is basically like when you have an SSL connection, usually you ask the server to send the certificate so that you can validate. But here it's saying that you need to have a client certificate as well. So in short, you need to have some client certificate. Obviously, you can self-sign a certificate and upload it in web browser, but I don't think that's gonna work. Okay, so it is actually asking you for a certificate. Obviously, it does not mention over here, but we'll see into it. Probably it's asking you for a certificate which is signed by the server. Now, how will you sign the thing from the server? That you need to add the key, right? Server key or server certificate, something like that. So we'll just look into this in a bit. So we saw 443 and we did not find anything as of now. So on hold, we can probably mention this, and this also on hold because we did not find anything. So yeah, we did find that SFTPD, but not but did not get RCE. So we did not get RCE. We just got this thing opened up. So it says first cannot connect. Now it's opened due to VSFTPD backdoor. Okay, so we did have this opened up by this port 21. What we'll try to do is we'll just try to connect over here. Obviously we are connected, so let's just do help. Okay, we are already in help, so we'll do ls, and it says if you do ls, it is going to list down all the local variables, methods, and all these kind of things. So let's just do ls. We have a variable over here which says Tokyo. So this is like one character of the series, and let's just copy this thing. And what if you want to check out this particular what do you see, what's present inside? If you just take this variable, just press enter, it's gonna give you some number over here, but I think I'm not sure what it is. The number, it's a count or something, but yeah, we get something over here, but we need to try and read what's inside this variable. So we need to use this show command over here. So I'll be using show and the variable. If you do that, we get a function over here which says class Tokyo private function sign, and in short it's getting two certificate, user and CA cert, and CA key. It's going to get the CA key from file get contents over here. So this is like one interesting directory. You get to know multiple things. One is that the key location, and probably the other thing is the user. You get one more user over here. So we can do this, copy it, and we can even enter potential usernames. So we have like first Tokyo. Okay, we know Tokyo because of the variables, so just leave that aside. Probably we have Nairobi, sorry, because it's the home directory. So we get some path over here that is home Nairobi CA key, and what we can do is, yeah, so in short it says user cert. It's gonna do an open SSL CSRR sign. So in short, this is the command which we are looking for, probably where this thing is going to be signed, the server certificate is going to be signed. So this thing we can probably do it manually as well instead of all these kind of things. So we did get a key. What we'll try to do now is we need to sign this particular certificate. So I don't know anything how to do it because I'm not used to it. So what we'll do is we'll just try to go and Google for things. So we'll just say how to sign HTTPS client certificate, and we come across this article over here, and on top there's obviously some explanation given on a few things like RSA key and all this thing, configuring the Node.js HTTP server. So Node.js is the server which we are running as well, right? So that is one good point, that okay, it's somewhere close. And if we go below, it says setting up client certificates. So this is how we are going to set it up. Here it shows like two ways. If you sign it, if you do a self-sign certificate, which I'll sign it by myself, it's going to deny that request. If you do a certificate which is signed by the client, so in this case we already have this key location, right? We just need to fetch this key. So in short, that certificate will be, accepted over here. So this is what it's trying to do. And in order to execute this, we need to consider ourselves as allies, because we'll not consider Bob, because if you read over here, it says Bob is not so good and it's trying to use a self-signed certificate, whereas allies is trying to use a valid certificate issued by us, probably with the server. So let's just copy this command over here. You need to modify only the names, I guess, nothing much. So let's just try to do that into our exploit directory. Okay, exploit directory. Okay, let's just paste this thing, and the CN name we can probably mention mutated nuts, because I want to mention mutated nuts. You can enter anything, I guess, not required. Allies key, so you can mention this as mutated nuts. Just change allies to mutated nuts, or your name to keep it simple, or the name, whichever name you like, but just keep it simple and keep one name itself so that it does not get confusing. So in short, it's going to do a request for a new key, and it's going to do, the key algorithm will be RSA and 4096, the key, that's a key length. Then it will do a key out, that is this thing it's going to do out, and this is the other thing, which is a CSR perm file. Okay, and it says nodes as well. I don't know the switch is used over here, so I'm just using it. And also it will be giving days and 365, and there is some subject, so that is a CN name probably, which we saw over here, right? Subject, something like that. So this is what it was, and also the days the certificate will be valid. So we have nodes over here. I'm not sure what it's used for. Let's just try to Google SSL nodes. So it says that if data is given nodes, it will not encrypt the private key or something like that. So obviously, if you do not know what the switch does, you can just go and Google it. So yeah. So let's just try and hit enter and hope we do not get any error now. So it says generating RSA key. It's done. Writing new key to this mutated nuts PEM. Now next command, what we come, let's just close this. We come across a new command over here, which says that we need to supply our certificate and key via the CA parameters, and we act as a certificate authority. So we, as in it's speaking on behalf of the server, so we need all these things. So what is, we do have this allies CSR which we generated earlier, right? And we do not have server certificate, but we can get the server certificate very easily. What we can do is we'll just set this lock key over here, connection. We do more information, security view certificate, go to details and do export. So if you do export, you do get this particular key over here. So let's just go to our box. That is LaCasaDePapel. My bad. Okay, so we'll just save this as server key. Keep the name same as what we saw in that page. Right? It's no hard and fast rule, but I don't want to get confused, and hope you guys don't get confused as well. So we'll just enter server key, and it's CRT. So probably just enter PEM. because over there itself it was mentioned PM, and over here as well the certificate is PM. So let's just do that and save the file. So we do save the file over here, and in short we got our server cert. I think it was server cert, not server key, my bad. Just rename it to server cert. Okay, so we do that, and next thing is the CA key, that is the server key PM. So in short we require this particular key, it looks like. So another thing, if we look into this PHP, you can do a PHP info on that. I think I checked it on Google and I could find it. So we do PHP info. If you hit enter, it's going to load out that PHP info page. And this particular shell is running as this particular DALI user. Okay, so we have user bins sh over here, which is that shell which is it's running. That's why it's like the limited shell. And if you go on top, we can check out for interesting things over here. But what's interesting is that all these commands, shell exec, in PHP, all these commands are banned over here. So it's like disable function. So you cannot use it. So that's why you cannot use that system command. Otherwise, it would have made things easier, right? So now what we have to do is we have this CA key, right, from the server. So we need this over here as well, this server key PM. We need to find a way to get it. So using PHP, we know the path that is this. So we need to find how to read file in PHP. We come across this W3 schools, and we have this simple looking commands over here. So let's just copy this thing. We can copy the entire thing, but we don't have to enter these things over here because we're already in that PHP shell. So I think we can just enter this thing. Let's just go to exploit, just create a new document which says like server sign txt. Okay, paste these commands over here. First is it's creating a variable my file. This is not any it's not any function or something. Obviously this fopen is a function, but you can enter anything over here, but I'll just leave it as it is. I will just change the file name, that is this web dictionary, right? So I'll just change it to this CA key in home Nairobi directory. So let's just change this thing over here, paste it, and or die unable to open file. Obviously if it does not have this particular file, I think it will say or give us this error. So let's just leave it as it is. I don't want to change it. It's going to echo this file, and it's going to read the contents of this and giving the file size over here. So I just need to change these two things over here. Next thing what I have to do is copy this entire line and paste it over here, and it says true. That means there was no error, that file is actually present. Let's just try to read it now. Copy and paste it again over here, and we see that we get the private key over here. So let's just copy this thing, create document server key.pm. So we got the private key, that is a server certificate. And what we can do now is obviously just close this thing, fclose, use this command to close it, because otherwise this file would be open and I don't want that to happen. So let's just close it. So it's done true, so it did close it. Okay, so in short, now we got everything what we require over here. We got the in, that is alias CSR, that is embedded on CSR, and we have server cert. We got that as well from the web browser. We got this from this PHP shell. So let's just copy this entire thing and let's just paste it over here. Obviously there's like OpenSSL. I think this 509 was for that file which we got, right, PM. So it's for that. Let's just modify this alias over here to mutated nuts, and the out file as well to mutated nuts over here. The server key and server cert, I have renamed it while saving it in the respective order, so I don't have to change these things again. So it says set serial 01 and days 365, so valid for 365 days. Let's just hit enter and see if we don't get any error. So it says CA getting CA private key, and I don't think we have any error, and this file mutated nuts cert PM was generated, I guess. Cert PM, yes. So now comes the last step, that is you are trying to get into the web browser. So you need to format it into this PKCS2L format. So let's just copy this entire thing again, and we can paste it over here. We have CL certs. Probably you can just read through and see why these things are present. and all these kind of things. So what we'll try to do is we'll just do mutated nuts again, because that's the file which you're looking for, mutated sort, and we have to have the key file, that was mutated nuts key, which was created in the first command over here. We did create a key file, right, this thing. So this is what we have to give, and out is alias as well. So let's just change that, enter mutated nuts p2l itself. Let's just hit enter, don't have to modify anything. It says for password, just hit enter, you don't have to give any password. Enter again, just leave it blank, and we do have that p12 file, sorry. Now we get this page over here, right? What we'll try to do is, first thing, we'll just go to preferences. It even says that you can add this particular file, preferences advanced view certificates, but I think the option is different over here. You have to go in privacy and security, go below certificates, view certificates, and go over here, import certificate, that is your p12 file. It will ask you for a password, just press OK, don't do anything else, and press OK over here. So we have this thing present, so let's just close this and reload it again and see if we get something. 31. So once we reload this page, we get an option to select a certificate which represents you, that is your client certificate. So we did like a lot of work, right, and we tried to sign everything. We have the certificate present over here, mutated nuts, which we had to do it. So let's just do that and press OK. And we see that we do not get that error anymore, and we get access to some private area. So that means we got the key, we did all our process, so we got something over here. And over here it says private area season 1, season 2. Let's just set season 1. It's like season 1 over here. The interesting thing is we have a parameter path and equal to sign and season 1. So whenever I see an equal to sign, there are two things which it comes into my mind as, first is SQL injection or LFI first, but yeah, LFI first and then SQL injection. So probably what we'll try to do is, if we just click on these things, it says you can have this particular document saved. So we have season 1 over here. If you go back, we do not get anything. If we go to season 2, it says season 2 again over here. So what we'll try to do is, we can download this entire file. I guess you'll get a file which can be downloaded, which is 0 bytes. But yeah, I don't want to download this file because there's nothing inside. What I'll try to do is, I'll try to go back. So if you do this and see, we do come and this page gets loaded and it says private area, but you do not find anything over here. Obviously because you had to give this thing as well over here. And we see that instead of season 2, we came back to the directory which is season 1 and 2. In short, we did go back one directory, because if you remove this, we get all the AVI files in season 2 directory, right? So in short, LFI is successful or path traversal is successful. Okay, so this is like path traversal, it's not LFI, but yeah. So yeah, so in short, we get all these files. Obviously, if LFI was present, probably we could add some PHP file or whatever this thing is running. I don't think it's running PHP, and we can execute and get a reverse shell. In short, we get path traversal over here, directory traversal. We see that we have a SSH directory as well. So if we go into SSH, we can see, we can probably get some key or something like that. And we have the user txt as well, which is waiting over here. We cannot click it and download it. So what we'll try to do is, let's just go back one more directory. So we get like 4 users over here: Berlin, Dali, Nairobi, and Oslo Professor. So let's just try to copy the potential user's name, that is Dali, Berlin. We did get Dali earlier, right, in this PHP size shell. And we have Professor. Then we have another one, that was Oslo. Okay, so we have Oslo as well over here. So what we'll try to do is, we'll just check. I think we were in the Berlin directory itself, because if we click Berlin, so we get that user txt and SSH key over here. So obviously you can try and check out for other modules over there, like Professor and all these things, but this web page, web server is running as user Berlin. That's why we have access to this. I think we have access to the other users as well. I'm not sure. You can try it. Yeah, so we do have access to Nairobi user as well, and there's a CA key which we downloaded earlier and did sign it, but we do not get anything interesting in other directories. So let's just go to Berlin quickly, and we have that SSH key waiting over there for us. So let's just try to grab that SSH key, but for some reason it will just display it as text because there's directory traversal over here. So it's like only going to display as text, like authorized key, ID, RSA, pub, known host. Okay. So what we have to find a way to try and download this thing, because if you go to that, if you go to downloads, I guess. So there the season 1 and season 2 is present. So if you click season 2, so you get the URL over here for these things. But I'm just going to keep it on top like this. Okay, I'm not going to click it. If you see over here below, just check this thing out below. It's like the file, that is the HTTPS connection, and there's a file directory, and that is like this encoded, base 64 encoded probably. So all we'll try to do is let's just do copy link location for this 01 AVI file, and this is our path, right? Current path. Obviously you can try for file and see if there are any file directory present. I don't think that is present. So what we can do is we'll just paste this thing over here for now, and we are interested in this base 64 only. So what we'll try to do is remove this thing, delete it, and use echo n over here. Be very sure to use echo n. If you do not use echo n, then probably you will get an error later. But yeah, let's just try to base 64 decode. Sorry. And we see that we get the entire path over here till season 2 we are present, right? Let's close this thing. We are present over here till season 2, right? So in short, this 0 AVI, 01 AVI was probably like this, and 01.avi. So this is what makes sense, right? And this is what is present over here, which is base 64 encoded. And that's the download link which we are getting over here. So if you see over here, if I do that, you're getting that download link over here, right? Or if you do copy link, obviously you're going to get that link. So in short, it's going to do a base 64 encode, and then we have to give it to that file command over there. So let's just copy this command entirely again. Copy link location, add this link over here. So we need to change this base 64 with something of interest, like of interest, that is your SSH key probably. So let's just go back to Berlin, go to SSH. We need the ID RSA over here. ID RSA. So what we don't require this part, but we require the ID RSA over here. So in short, it was like this season 2 AVI, right? This was the path which was mentioned over here. We need to go and add, let's just copy this path. So we have this particular path, and over here we need to go into this SSH directory and get the ID RSA file. And over here, just to avoid confusion, we'll just copy this path and paste it over here. So in short, this base 64 string, we have to replace it by base 64 of this. So probably then we'll get the RSA file. So what we'll try to do is copy this, do an echo n, echo dash n. It will not add a new line, otherwise it's going to add a new line for you, and we'll do base 64 d. D is, sorry, not d, just keep it base 64 itself. So if you do that, you do get a request over here, or base 64 string over here. And let's just try to copy this thing and try to create our own HTTP page. Sorry, not page, but request. So URL. It's going to click this URL for some reason. So not sure. How do you dismiss link here? Copy this thing, put it over here, and let's just quickly try to decode this as well. So echo n. Obviously we just encoded, but I don't want that new line to come. So if you see that we do not have the new line, otherwise this thing would come on the new line. So we have this particular file present. Let's just copy this thing and try to load it over here and see if we get something, or maybe you can go to the next page and see if you get something over here. So we'll get this file, we'll try to open this ID RSA. We see that we have a long open SSH private key. So let's just copy this, go to our exploit directory, create doc file ID RSA, and paste it over here, or you could have saved it directly. So what we'll try to do is, next thing we'll just try and what we'll try to do is, we'll just try to chmod it first. So chmod 600 ID RSA, do that, and later on try to SSH. Since we got this in the Berlin directory, obviously it belongs to Berlin, right? So let's just go and do Berlin at, sorry, before that you need to enter ID RSA, then enter 10 10 10 131, hit enter, and it's asking for a password. So in short, it's not letting us in as Berlin. So quickly what we can do is, why it is not letting us in, we have the authorized keys as well over here. So let's just take that authorized keys and try to check out this particular thing over here. So what we'll try to do is echo n season authorized key biz64. Okay, so we have this authorized keys thing present over here. So let's just do this, copy it, and try to paste it over here to get that authorized keys file and open with mousepad. So if we go in the end, right, it says the K, the may take Mac. Sorry if I do not pronounce it right, but yeah, in short, there's no Berlin over here, the key whom it belongs to. So that's why I think we cannot, in the authorized keys, it's like basically, it's saying that in the authorized keys there will be probably multiple user, like mutated nuts or something like that. The public key of my user, that is mutated nuts, would be present over there. But since it is not present, I cannot SSH into the box as Berlin because that authorized key is not present over there. So that's why it's not letting us go inside that particular place, because our public key is not present over there. So this private key is of no use. So what we'll try to do is, we'll just try and see other users who we have, and we can check for professor. No such reason to check for him. You can check for other people as well, but it does not work for them, and it works for professor. So if you do who am I, you are over here as professor, and if you do LSLA, you're over here. Obviously you can get the user txt flag as well using this particular thing, and you can get the user txt flag as Berlin itself. And if you go to cd.ssh, and if we check out the authorized keys over here, we have this particular thing present, that is Berlin. So Berlin's key is present, public key is present in the authorized key over here. That's why we could get access to this particular professor user, and we could not get access to Berlin because in his authorized key, his own key is not present. Okay, so that's like next level configuration done over here. Okay, so what we'll try to do is, we can check out for multiple things over here itself, which are interesting. We have memcached ini file, which belongs to root, but we can read it, and memcached.js file, it belongs to root, but the group is nobody, and nobody is probably a group. Okay, so memcached. So let's just try to check that and see if we get something interesting. We have memcached over here, it says no such file. Oh, my bad. We are in the SSH directory. So we do have this file. It says it's running some command, that is sudo, that is u is like, to run it as another user. So I'm running it as nobody. I'll be giving user bin node over here, like the command is giving, and it's running something like this memcache.js file, which is present over here already. We cannot execute, we cannot read it as well because we don't belong to nobody's group, I guess. So let's just try that and see. We have professors over here itself, so we do not have anything else. So what we'll try to do is, we'll just try and check out for do a scan on PSPY or Linenum. You can check out Linenum first, but I don't think I could find anything over there. I did Linenum and I could not find. You can check out sudo L as well. You cannot do password prof for professor. So what we'll try to do is, we'll just try to transfer PSPY over here into the box and see if there are any cron jobs running. I did execute sudo L. We require the password. We do not have any password. You can check out for manual directories. I come into the box, I check out for manual, things manually, but I could not find anything. So what we'll try to do is, we'll just go back and So we'll go back to the TMP directory so that we get our PSPY file, and what we can just transfer it, I guess. So let's just do locate PSPY64S, and for some reason 64S does not work, so let's just save time and let's just do PSPY64 itself. Why 64 is because this OS is 64-bit over here, so let's just do uname. We have the 64-bit OS present over here, so let's just copy this PSPY tool and let's just try to save it in this current working directory and host a Python HTTP web server. Why is this required? Because you want to transfer file from your target machine to your from your attack machine to your target machine. So that's why I use this Python 3 HTTP server. Give the port number, that is 8000. By default it's going to run on 8000, but I'm just giving it to showcase you can give any other port as well. So PSPY, if you guys don't know, it's like it's going to list down all the processes which are running in the back end. Okay, it's going to list down most of it, I guess. Not, I think it displays all, but yeah. And also the files which are being accessed or something, which have been written, accessed, or open that way. So you can get it on GitHub, that is PSPY. Just enter download, PSPY download. I think you get it over here. You can get the standalone versions over here. S is the smaller version, but for some reason in this box it does not work, I guess. So let's just quickly go and try to get the file first. 1428. This is my attack machine's IP address and the port number where this HTTP server is running. We'll give port 8000 over here, and we will be giving the file name, that is PSPY64. So it may take some time because the size is huge. So the thing is, you have your S version over here and you have the 64-bit. So S version is comparatively small, it's like 1 MB itself, and the large version is like 4 MB itself. So okay, so another thing, yeah, okay, so it's still gonna take some time. Another thing what you can do with the box is you can take this SSH connection over here, and we can there's another way to do this particular box, and we can look into that in a bit. So let's just exit. I don't think you need to exit it, so let's just wait for this. Let's just create over here, create SSH and I. Okay, let's just go back to exploit. Before we wait, if you want to, that's an unintended method, I guess, and you don't have to sign all the certificates and all these things. You can get into the box fairly easily. So if you just do SSH, do I, and then you do ID RSA, and then you do professor 10 10 10 14, sorry, 31, and over here you can give a dynamic proxy on port 1080. You can give any port, I guess, but 1080 is configured in that proxy chain, so that's why I'm giving that, and hit enter. You'll probably get a login over here, I guess. So yeah, you do get a login, and what we have to do is let's just look at proxy chains for now. Let's just do that. LSLA. Okay, my bad. You don't have to do proxy chains from this professor user, because professor key we got it after we had this thing. We need to get a SSH connection as this particular DALI user, where this PHPY shell is running. Sorry, PHP shell. So we'll look into that in a bit. I think this is almost done. So let's just complete this, and then probably we'll get back to this particular task. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you guys are practicing all these boxes over here. I think buff is added recently over here, and there are multiple boxes over here: October, Mango, Nest, which have been added recently, as well as TraverseSec, OpenAdmin. We have Mango over here and here as well. I'm not sure. I think it's present over here if you use a. Okay, we'll look into that maybe later. But yeah, so we have this file present over here. It's already transferred into the box. So let's just chmod it, and we'll just give 777. Let's just give 777. So it's a target machine. So PSPY64. Do that and execute this particular file as it is. So if you do this 64. So it's gonna scan for processes every 100 milliseconds. So that means it's gonna be like really accurate. And if we see over here, we do get something, but I'm not sure if it's interesting. Okay, so let's just wait for some time and see if there are any cron jobs running. So this is the time which the task is running, and the UID is nothing but the user ID, right? Like the person, like if it's root, it's 0. And if we see over here, we do get a different, that is supervisor D start for some reason, that is running supervisor D over here. Bin sh rc open rc run supervisor D. It's running over user bin python 2 user bin supervisor D, no daemon, PID file is this, configuration file is this. So in short, it's running supervisor D, and if we have some access or write access to these particular file, probably we can try and modify it, and since it's running as a cron job, we can get a reverse shell. So I don't think we have any write access to these things over here. Let's just copy it and see, wait for some time, see if we get something. Let's just 1 minute complete. So obviously it did run something, and there are something like it did run that sudo UserNobody user node home professor memcache js command over here. So this is the command which we did see in that file earlier, right? The memcached ini file, and it did run this command over here, that is sudo. So this is a good thing to probably note, and we can try and probably modify that command over there in order to run this particular file. But for some reason, we have to obviously confirm that that memcached ini file was actually, it actually did read that file and it did write it. So there's another thing in PSPY, which is you can actually check out for the files which are being accessed, opened, or all these kind of things. So let's just look into it quickly. Let's just wait for one more cycle, I guess, and see if we get something additional. Obviously, here supervisor D was opened up as well. Yeah, so we do see that we get multiple things like supervisor D present over here, and also yeah, so we have supervisor D present, and we just want to see which all file it's going to access or something. So what we'll try to do is let's just press Ctrl C. Because we are in SSH, it will just close this program. We can run this file again, PSPY, and give the F switch over here and press enter. It will give all the files which are being accessed by the processor or something like that. So over here we see that we have multiple user bin node. Okay, that's user bin node. So we see one file which is being accessed over here, that is etc zone info UTC. We see a few log messages over here as well. Modify, close, write, open, modify, all these kind of things. So in some time we are going to get some job, I guess, again. So we do get something over here, and it quickly moved on top because there were multiple Python files which are being used and accessed. So this may be a bit messy, so use it only if you do not find anything interesting after you find a cron job or something. So we have over here which is saying user supervisor restart, over here running the supervisor file. Let's just go on top, it's running, fail to start, bin sh, open supervisor restart. Go on top again, we have this thing. In short, there are multiple messages over here, and it may be a bit confusing, but yeah, we have this supervisor thing running, user bin supervisor. So let's just go and check for that and see if we get something. And over here as well in home professor, it's running some command UID. We see that it's opening this home professor memcached ini. It's going to access it. So probably that sudo L command which we had seen earlier, right? And it's going to do a close, no write. So it's just going to close it. It's not going to write anything, I guess. So that's what it's doing. And so this is what it's doing, user bin node, and it's going to use that memcache.js file. That is after using sudo L. This is the command which is being used, which this UID. So let's just copy this UID and see whom does it belong to. So we do have this interesting UID over here, and we can check out for other things. Obviously, it's going to do that supervisor D thing again. may be a bit messy because there are multiple Python libraries over here. So this is what happens in the backend. If you create, see over here also we do find that memcached INR file. So probably that command is being used somewhere, and we can probably confirm it again. What we can do is we'll just close this thing for now. I think we got what we needed to know. You can probably go and check out slowly, and again if we see over here we have this node, what do you say, the command executed. So if we go back, just close this thing for now, go back to our home directory, professor home directory. So if you go back over here, we had this memcached INR file, right, which was being accessed by UID 0, most likely, because after UID 0 that thing came up. Okay, so we'll do memcached INI cat. In short, it says sudo u. So if you run this command as UserNobody, and this is the command which is going to run. This is what that sudo u is actually doing. And if you see over here, if you see over here, this is the command which is actually running. This is the exact same command as this thing. But this is running as UID 65534. So now what we can do is quickly we can do a cat on etc password, and we can check out for 65534 over here, which is that nobody user. In short, we have confirmed that this command actually works. So we can try and modify this command, but there'll be another catch that it says that you have read access only. So if you do LSL over here, we have read access itself, but if you forget it, we are the directory owner over here. That's professor. Obviously it's professor, R is not coming up over here, but we are the directory owner. So what we can do is we can just try and move this file to something else, and we can try and upload our memcached INF files. But first what we'll try to do is we'll just cat this particular file, and we'll create some reverse shell probably using this. So let's just copy this entire command, copy it over here in the exploit directory. Let's just create another file that is memcached.ini. Open this file, paste this, whatever was present. It says program memcache, leave it as it is. Only thing you have to change is this thing. So let's just do this. We can probably enter something like bin bash c, or we can enter a Python script. You can check for pentest monkey. We'll just take this thing and see if it actually works in our system first. Let's just give 5555, and let's see if this entire command works first without this file, because otherwise we may wonder that why it's not working for some reason. So let's just do that. Just create NC listener over here. And if you guys don't know what netcat is, it's a connection tool from your target machine if you're trying to get some connection. So this will listen using the L switch. So N is for numeric values only, V is for more verbose, L is for listening mode, P is for port, and 5555. And we'll paste this bin bash c command over here. If you press enter, we do get our shell over here. We do who am I. We are obviously as professor because we send that shell as professor. So in short, this shell is good to go. What we'll try to do is memcached ini. We'll try to move this file, okay, or rename this file from memcache to, we can probably rename it as backup file. So let's just rename this particular file as backup. So memcached.ini. Do this backup file over here and probably do a wget. Let's just start our shell as well. Netcat listener. Wget 1428 8000 memcached.ini. We do this. Let's just do chmod. I don't think you require 777, but let's just do that to memcached. So in short, we did have that root access, right? The file was root, but still we managed to rename it to some other file, backup file, and now we have that memcached ini file. So we do have this file. I think you can delete this file as well. You can do that. Only thing is you cannot write it because this permission is, only read over here that way. So we have this memcached ini file. Let's just do cat over here. See, because we do not get our shell over here till now. So we see that we do get our shell over here, and if we do who am I, we are as root. We can go to cd home Berlin. We get the user txt file. You can very well read it. You can go back to the root directory, obviously, and you can check out for the root txt flag as well. So this was the box. Obviously, we had to check out for the file systems and everything, because in that, I think there was that SupervisorD file. We did not have access to that particular file. So let's just quickly check for that as well. We didn't. Let's just quickly check SupervisorD. Let's just check this thing. Okay, we do get something over here, config file, okay. So the configuration file as well was present, but we do not have write access in short over there. So PID file is present over here. We do have the config file, that is this, SupervisorD corner file. So let's just do cat over here. It says permission denied. So we cannot even read that file. So obviously, you cannot do anything much. So obviously we needed to find that is this file being executed or no, so that we could change that thing, and that's how we did find this particular command over here, right? User bin node being executed. That means that command which was present inside this file, which is the backup file, if you check that, this command was being executed as UserNobody. So we did find that UID, and we did see it in the etc password file itself. Okay, so let's just close this thing now. We can close this shell as well. And what we'll try to do is we'll just try and see how we can get a shell without that SSL thing. So next thing what we can do is, we know that the user is Dali because of that PHP info. We did see it, right? So we can do PHP info once again. Let's just close this thing. Don't think you require it. So if you see over here, we are as user Dali. We are Dali user. So what we'll try to do is we'll just try to get a SSH key if it is present, or create an authorized key file over there. Okay, so in the Dali user, so we can SSH using Dali. So what we'll try to do is, first thing, we'll just try to create a SSH key pair. So we can do that using, let's just do pwd first, we'll require that, and then do SSH key gen type RSA bytes 2048. Just save it in this directory, exploit directory. That's the ID RSA of professor. Just enter empty password over here. You created a key pair. Is a directory, my bad, to give the file name. It's probably meant to something like tally. That's it. So we do have the file present over here. We do get a key pair, Dali. This is the private key, and this is the public key. Okay, so we do create this particular file, and what we can do is, obviously you can delete this file later on. It's just a key pair, and we have this authorized key over here. So what we can do is just open this up and chmod Dali. Okay, my bad. Let's just give 600. Okay, so this is the first thing we do over here, and we will try to transfer this particular file, that is the Dali pub. We'll try to write it to an authorized key file. So if you go back to that W3 school, probably how to write in file in PHP. So we have this create write as well over here. It says open my file and write if write is present, or you can use append over here as well, and you have to give the text. So we can just copy this thing over here, paste it in our commands. Where did it go? Server sign, yeah. So paste it over here. We do not require this thing because it's like trying to write multiple times. So we do not require that. So just leave it. We can use the append option, I guess, or we can use W itself. So I'll just use W for now. I think you can use append option as well. So append is basically whatever data is present first. So yeah, you can use E as well. So let's just try that and see if it works. The file would be home dali SSH authorized, my bad, SSH authorized keys. Okay, so this is what the file is, and we have to enter a text, that is our public key, which we just generated over here. So copy it and paste it over here. You can add that new line itself. So you can leave this new line. This is for new line. So you can leave it as it is. Just paste the key. My bad. I don't think it got copied. Okay, so it did get copied over here, and we have this thing. And it says write my file txt. So txt is this. This is the content, what it's going to write into this particular file. And it's going to append it in short. So let's just try this thing first. My file. Let's just press this, and if that file is not present, I think it's going to create that file if this particular file is not present. So this is what happens over here. It's going to create that file if it does not exist. Then we require this txt. So let's just take that, paste it over here. So we did write this particular file, and then later on we have to, sorry, it just took that value, so we have to write it to file. So do this. It says 391, okay, and try to close this particular file now. Okay, so it's true. Now we'll try to read that particular file, that is this authorized keys. So let's just copy this over here in the read command which we had entered earlier, right? So we'll be using that, copy it. So actually this was the first thing which I had tried earlier, tried to write a shell, because obviously you got the SSH shell as this thing itself. So but yeah, this is one good neat trick to know, so that you can write the authorized keys. So we'll try to read this particular file to see if that key did actually write properly. And we do have this kali file over here. So in short, we can SSH into this box. So let's just do that without wasting any time. So let's just do SSH. We do we go give the key as Dali. We give the username as Dali. The key is actually, it's different. It's not Dali. Like the name itself, I have given Dali over here, but this is the key and this is the user. So don't get confused. 10, 10, 10, 131. Do that. You do get that shell, but that's Psi shell itself. So obviously I tried to escape shell using that T switch with bin sh and all these kind of things, but that did not work. So what we can do is, best thing, we can just give a dynamic proxy over here, 1080. Let's just hit enter. Okay, so this thing is running. What we'll try to do is, let's just locate for proxy chains. So it's present in the Kali system itself by default. I don't think you have to install it again. So let's just do proxy chains. Look at the etc proxy chains configuration file, that is this. And if you see over here, I have enabled this SOX5 proxy. This is commented out, and it's running on localhost 1080. So in short, if I run proxy chains over here, so it's gonna be like proxy chains on 1080. We are creating a secure socket over here, and what it's gonna do is, it's basically gonna take this particular connection from here and transfer in the box. So this thing is going to act like a actual proxy. So if we do some nmap scan or something like that, so we'll try to do an nmap scan in this box by itself, like as in inside the box itself. You'll do nmap over here itself, not from outside. You'll do it from inside to see if there is any port or something open. So that's why we'll probably giving this proxy thing, because we can see and find out if there are any other open ports present in the target machine or no. Okay, so this is one way, good way to use proxy chains, get inside, because since we already got access to this, right, using SSH, so that means whatever connection we are throwing at and this particular port, that is 8080, it's going to treat it as a local connection in the target machine. So in short, will give us more information. So obviously it's good, like we know that. So we can use proxy chains over here, and we'll be running nmap over here with pn switch, as well as we can give the host IP address, that is localhost probably, so 127.0.0.1, and I think that's it. I don't think we have to give anything else. So we'll probably just run this thing and see if it works. So we do that, and we see that it says connection refused for multiple things. And over here we see that we get port 22, and it says okay because we knew SSH is running, 21 is running, and plus we had 443 running as well, port 80 running. That's why it's saying okay over here. So we see that the scan is now complete, and this is the quick TCP and map scan. So it's complete now, and we see another interesting port over here, that is port 8000. So obviously it was not accessible from outside. So if we probably just do nmap without proxy chains, obviously, like just do nmap over here, nmap pn on port, that is 8000, and as well as we'll just leave this host to 10 10 10 131. So if you do that, it says closed over here. But if we do it from inside the box, so it says it is open. So let's just go and see what is present inside. So what we can do is quickly we can just close this thing, the SSH connection, and we can have this SSH now, but we'll remove that dynamic proxy over here, and in the end we'll probably just enter a normal, or at the start itself we can enter port forwarding thing. So we'll probably just port forward from our local system 8000 or 8001. I think 8000 is running Python HTTP server. Okay, so we'll run 8000 in, this is our attack machine's port number and IP address, but it will just consider the localhost port number and consider 127 by default. So here we can enter the target machine's local IP address, because obviously we are sending it over here, right? So it will go to this box, and then later on it will be like, hey, you know what, on the local host, this is the IP address, and I want to hit this 8000. So I'm forwarding my port, attack machine's port 8001 to target machine's port, IP address, localhost IP address, and this particular port, which is particularly open over here. So let's just hit enter. Okay, my bad. You have to give a space between that. So we already got the SSH connection, so probably we can just try and check it out with NC, or what we can do is we can just try to check it out from the web browser itself. For some reason my web browser not responding. Okay, yeah. Okay, so probably just enter 127.0.0.1 port 8001. So if we do that, we see that, you know, we directly bypass that certificate signing and everything, and we come over here. We can get the season 1 and AVI. Obviously we have to get it in the same way itself, this particular file. If you just load it, copy link location, and probably I think we can use wget from here. Let's just try that. Wget. Yeah, so this is how we got the file in short. So obviously it's not going to download that way, but you can use wget and then get that particular file. So you can use the same thing for the IDRSA as well. So this is how the box was done. And if you guys like the video, do give a thumbs up. If you guys have not subscribed yet, do subscribe for more upcoming videos. Thank you.